$100,000 went to finding out if sunfish get more aggressive when you give them gin or tequila. Over $700,000 was spent to figure out if Neil Armstrong said one small step for man or one small step for a man when he walked on the moon. And they didn't even figure it out.
Folks, let's talk about the government, that magical place where your hard-earned tax dollars vanish faster than socks in a dryer. Stick around, because in this video, you're about to see the most mind-bogglingly ridiculous list of projects your taxes have funded. Spoiler alert, it'll make your blood boil. So why is government overspending a total disaster for you, me, and the poor guy still dodging that pothole on his morning commute? Well, let me introduce you to someone who can explain it better.
You're being taxed. You're being taxed. All government spending is taxation. So whether it's direct taxation or all government spending, it either becomes inflation or it's direct taxation. Your money is being wasted.
Now let's dive into the madness. Roll the clips of outrageous government spending.
Is this really how we want to be able to spend Americans' taxpayer dollars? We've set up a top 10 list. For instance, last year the State Department did a grant to Ecuador to host 12 drag shows in Ecuador with American tax dollars. The National Science Foundation last year did a study of butterflies in Europe. So we funded with American taxpayer dollars a butterfly study in Germany where we paid a Swedish scientist to study butterflies in Germany, to set up a display in Brooklyn for the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, which, by the way, is not even an American band. Always popular. We had an almost, $350,000 grant to study smart toilets. We also had a grant that was done studying colonial Mexican soundscapes. Did a study on helmets and seatbelts in Ghana to be able to study whether seatbelts and helmets were effective for saving lives in Ghana. Can I just go ahead and answer that question for free? Seatbelts and helmets are a good idea. All I'm asking is, why did Oklahomans work overtime last year to pay their tax bill to fund doing the Yoko Ono White Room where people fixed broken saucers? If you like wine country, great, you help pay for it. Wine pedestrian trail through Napa Valley, because apparently Napa Valley didn't have enough cash to be able to pay for the 8-mile walking trail through wine country. If you like traveling to Hawaii, enjoy the trip. When you get there, if you go to a farmer's market, you'll find out that you help pay for that farmer's market, because the farmer's market in Hawaii received $3.4 million to be able to fund the farmer's market. Almost $750,000 was given to the Metropolitan Opera in New York to help them install a new fire suppression system. Was fascinating for the French to study, but unfortunately, the American taxpayers paid for a study of French butchers' private language for fear that it is diminishing and fading away. So the American tax dollars paid for this study in France to study the secret language of butchers in Paris. What your tax dollars paid for is actually an event that was done to teach climate futurism and to be able to use the parable of the sower from the Bible, but to reteach a new religion called Earth Seed, using the biblical story of the parable of the sower and talking about humanity's destiny to be able to leave Earth for other planets. We also did an interview project that was almost $200,000 in Ghana to interview taxi cab drivers and truck drivers to ask them about how difficult driving has become with climate change. With a study that was done for $400,000, the study on pluralistic ignorance gaps in climate change, and to be able to determine how to speak to people, as the study says, who are ignorant on climate change, and to be able to re-educate them on that. $991 million on soft-sided facilities, those are called tents, along our border in Mexico. Now, best estimates on this, there's about 2 million people illegally crossed the border last year. So if you run the numbers on it, we spent somewhere around $500 a person on the tent facility they were processed through just to travel across the border.
So this last year, DHS has spent $123 million on electric vehicles that DHS told GAO they can't even use. $1.3 million on cybersecurity diversity fellowship, whatever that is. 75-day psychological safety workshop to ensure individuals show up as their authentic selves. $160 million on projects to advance environmental justice, whatever that is, at FEMA. I guess these are the roads that are somehow bigoted and biased. $4.3 million on grants to house illegal immigrants. $17 million in unused hotel rooms. So $4.3 million spent to house immigrants, and then $17 million wasted on hotel rooms that were never used to house immigrants. $225,000 in a marketing campaign to convince migrants from Latin America not to come to the southern border.
New York City effectively paid $220 million to Pakistan in order to rent the Roosevelt Hotel as a full-time shelter for people who were not citizens.
Remember when Andrew McCabe bought a conference table for the Justice Department that cost $70,000? $70,000 for a conference table. $100,000 went to finding out if sunfish get more aggressive when you give them gin or tequila. Over $700,000 was spent to figure out if Neil Armstrong said one small step for man or one small step for a man when he walked on the moon. And they didn't even figure it out. $120,000 to study why prisoners want to get out of jail. That's right, 120 grand for that. And $1.5 million went to encourage people in New York to play more video games.
Almost $550,000 went to a Russian lab to run experiments on cats' brains. That was spent by the National Institutes of Health. $3.7 million of funding went to a study on monkeys and gambling.
Now, how is the incoming Trump administration planning to fix this? Enter Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, armed with the greatest acronym ever, DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Their mission? Slash $2 trillion in waste by streamlining operations and straight up deleting unnecessary government departments. Oh, and here's the most amazing thing. DOGE is a self-destructing department. Once the mission's accomplished, it's gone. No awkward farewell parties, no cake, just poof. Let's hope the proposed DOGE can clean up this mess and actually deliver on its mission.